Okay, it is day 2 of the NBA Play-In Tournament. Today, the 9 and 10 games in Chicago, Illinois. We've got the Miami Heat taking on the Chicago Bulls. And in Sacramento, California, we have the Kings taking on the Dallas Mavericks. So these are winner-go-home games. Yesterday, right, the Magic beating the Hawks, as Atlanta will await the winner of today's game in the East, as same can be said about the Memphis Grizzlies, as they got eliminated by the Golden State Warriors. Some interesting officiating in that game. I'm just going to put it that way. On both sides. I mean, it's really weird what's going on. I don't know how officiating can be that bad. I don't know. Regardless, today we get these winner go home spots, 9 versus 10 in both the East and the West. And folks, before we get into the predictions and best bets, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA predictions and best bets here on the channel. Tomorrow, no NBA, but we'll be back throughout the week after tomorrow, basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so far, it's because the NBA is going pretty much every single day after tomorrow. So anyways, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Earlier today on the channel, we posted our MLB best bets, so make sure to check that out. Link in the description down below, along with our PFL predictions. Those were posted a couple days ago. Impuka Sanganay and Fabian Edwards in the main event this week for the Professional Fighters League. Make sure to go check that out on Greedo Plays MMA. Linked in the description down below, and go subscribe to Greedo Plays MMA as well. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers over there. Okay. On to the first of two today. We start in Chicago for the Bulls and Miami Heat. I am so confident the Chicago Bulls win this basketball game. Like, I am extremely confident Chicago beats this team. I really am, guys. I don't think the game's particularly close. I just don't think it is. I understand the Miami Heat played much better to close the season, right? They went on their big 8-game losing streak, and, you know, everything was coming down for this team, but they kind of just had to be in the plan. I understand that. Chicago is much better than Miami. They've beat them every time so far this year. They beat them in February. They beat them in March. They beat them in April. And they're going to do it again in April. I mean, again, the first 3 matchups, Chicago wins 133-124, 114-109, and then 119-111. The Heat have nothing for the Bulls. The game's in Chicago. Chicago comes into this play-in winning 6 out their last 7, with the only loss being the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if you've been watching the channel throughout the course of the year, you do know that we are very high on the Bulls. The way I'm looking at it right now, I think they're going to beat the Atlanta Hawks. They're just going to. I like the Hawks a lot. I like Atlanta and Chicago a lot. I'm a big Trae Young guy, but the way the Hawks are playing, the way I saw them play in Orlando yesterday, the way that they were leaving Cole Anthony open and leaving Anthony Black wide open, you can't do that against Chicago because they're going to hurt you. But again, we'll get to that in a couple days when that happens. Today is Bulls Heat. Chicago's beat this team 3 times this season. I don't see why they won't do it again. Miami finished 8 games under 500 this season. Yeah, the Bulls finished 4 games under, but that's a big difference. I look at this Bulls team, and we've talked a lot about Chicago because I think they're so fascinating, really. Because this is a team at the beginning of the year, we looked at them, we're like, all right, like, how is Josh Giddey really going to work on this team? You trade Alex Caruso, you get Josh Giddey, who's still very young, but you add him alongside Zach LaVine, Alonzo Ball, Kobe White, all these guards. How is that really going to work with Josh Giddey really just being a 6'8" point guard who's 22 years of age? Well, you get rid of LaVine, and again, this is no hit on Zach LaVine, but legitimately, that was the best thing that could have happened to this franchise. Because you get rid of LaVine, and now, all right, Giddey and White are just allowed to play freely. And they went away from playing 4 guards with Nikola Vucevic, right? They were playing Giddey, Ball, White, and Dosunmu all with Vooch. It wasn't working. Dosunmu eventually gets injured. He's out for the season. You bring in their first-round pick, top 10 pick, Matas Buzelis, into the starting lineup, and he's done wonders for this team in terms of spacing and just defensively as well. Because for as much as I like Josh Giddey, he's a defensive liability. Actually, no, I can't say that anymore. I'm being harsh on Giddey. Giddey's actually holding his own. He's holding his water defensively. He's not a great defender, but he's much more improved than he was in the first half of the season with Chicago and the last couple seasons with OKC. So I think Giddey's seen massive improvements. When you look at what Josh Giddey's done post All-Star break, Josh Giddey's averaging a 20-point triple-double, give or take, since the All-Star break. It's insane numbers that this guy's been putting up. You want to look at his averages against the Miami Heat this season, all post All-Star break. Josh Giddey averages 26, 10, and 10 against the Miami Heat. I mean, that's kind of what his numbers are post All-Star break, just more points scored. I really think the Bulls go right through the Heat. I don't see this game being competitive at all. I think the odds were made by people who haven't watched either of these teams this season. They just look at Miami and say, all right, these guys are playing Warriors. They play in the play-in every single season. Oh, Heat culture, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, they get Wiggins. Sure, they're just not on the Bulls level, guys. As someone who has watched a lot of Chicago Bulls basketball this year, and probably too much Chicago Bulls basketball, the game will not be close. They are going to outrun Miami tonight. Kobe White is going to have his way on whoever is matched up against him. It's probably going to be Alec Burks. But again, Kobe White came into the season playing like a point guard. Now he plays like a 6'5 guard that he is. He was playing like before this season. Kobe White wouldn't really go up. He wouldn't fade. He wouldn't use his size to his advantage. He does that now. And Kobe White I can't believe I'm saying this, he's knocked down now. The one thing that Chicago will struggle with a little bit is size, but I don't think it's going to hurt them because they're just going to outpace Miami. And yes, the Heat should probably win on the glass a lot against them because they're going to be starting two bigs like they've been doing for most of the year. They start the rookie out of Indiana, Khalil Ware, and Bam Adebayo at the 4, so they're going to have size in Chicago. But what happens when you switch? I like Khalil Ware, but you switch a guy like Kobe White or Matas Buzelis on him, they're too fast, and they will get by Khalil Ware fairly easily. Now, there is the Lonzo Ball situation. Lonzo is out for this game, but he's always kind of been involved in that starting lineup. Again, Lonzo's been out for a while, which I like Lonzo a lot. He brings a great defensive factor to this team, especially with Giddey being the other guard. But again, with Giddey's emergence, at least defensively, it's not that big of an issue. Regardless, we'll see who they start. They have options. You can go Kevin Huerter instead of Lonzo Ball, which is likely what they're going to do, I think. Or they're probably going to go Huerter. Yeah, because that's what they did the last time they played Miami and it worked. Kevin Huerter scored 22 points in that game. I mean, just this starting unit from Chicago and what they've done in the regular season, down the stretch at least, they just play their 5 starters the entire game, really, and kind of sub in a guy like Patrick Williams, a guy like Dalen Terry, and some of Zach Collins. They really just play an 8-man rotation to the Bulls. I'm going to be honest, I think this kind of gets squeezed to maybe 6 or 7. And even that, I think there's a chance Patrick Williams even gets shoved out the rotation here in the playoffs. Because I really think they're just going to run with the 5 starters, get Zach Collins in, obviously, to take some minutes away from Vucevic. And maybe Williams and Terry will play too as well, but I really think Giddey, Huerter, White, and Buzelis are going to be on the court for most of the game, which is fine. They've done it before. And how the last time they played Miami, it was in Chicago. Giddey plays 40 minutes. He scores 28 points, 16 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kevin Huerter scores 22 in 37 minutes. Kobe White scores 18 points in 36 minutes. Vucevic, 20 in 35. Buzelis, 17 in 34. I mean, their leading scorer off the bench was Dalen Terry, who scored 6 points. It's just how Chicago plays, which is fine. So I think, honestly, the playoff rotation, nothing really changes for Chicago. They've dominated this matchup all year long with Miami. Josh Giddey has been absolutely amazing. The Heat can't find a solution to guard both Giddey and White. And it's not like I'm scared. Again, the Chicago where they will suffer is defensively. It's just a thing. For as good as Giddey's been and for the improvements I'll say he has made, there's still a weak defensive team. But if they're able to outscore you, it doesn't really matter. If they're able to outshoot you like they have, and I hate to bring it up when they beat the Lakers, because that's just the games that everyone's seen with the Bulls this season. But it's true. The 2 games they beat the Lakers, they couldn't miss from 3. Especially the first game at Staples or at Crypto. Defense doesn't matter if you keep shooting and you keep scoring. I think they easily beat Miami tonight, guys. They've beat them all 3 times this season. I get it. Oh, it's hard to beat a team 4 times. Well, they're at home. They should be able to do it again. And I am so impressed with Josh Giddey, man. I really am. He is going to get $45 million a year in the offseason. And he 100% deserves it. Chicago's going to outrun Miami tonight. I don't understand why the odds are this way. I really don't. Minus 115 for the Bulls is an absolute steal. They are going to beat the Miami Heat, and then they are going to go on to Atlanta, Georgia, and they are going to beat the Atlanta Hawks. And then they're going to take 2 games off the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs, like I've been saying. Chicago beats the Heat, and we'll see you on Friday in Atlanta. Let's go Bulls. We move on to our second game of the day in the Western Conference. I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks to beat the Sacramento Kings. Okay? I think Dallas ends this monstrosity of a season that's happened in Sacramento. I mean, either way here, right? By the way, all 4 teams that we're talking about today have losing records. Just want to put that out there. Sacramento, 2 games under 500. Dallas, 4 games under 500. The same record as the Chicago Bulls. Okay. For both these teams, yes, the season for both these squads have been disasters, right? You look at the Mavs, they traded Luka Doncic. On top of that, they've dealt with injuries all year long. Kyrie's out for the year. He's potentially played his last game wearing that Mavericks jersey, but obviously, yes. I mean, the season fell apart when they traded Luka Doncic, which still doesn't make sense, but it's okay, right? In Sacramento's season, I mean, you trade De'Aaron Fox, which I get it, you had to do. You get Zach LaVine, who, good basketball player, doesn't really fit what the Kings are doing, I don't think. I mean, hell, it hasn't worked. And Sacramento's stuck. I've said it before this season, and I will say it again. I think they will completely retool this team in the offseason. I firmly believe that there are 3 players in this team that are going to remain in Sacramento after this year, potentially a 4th. But those guys are Zach LaVine, because they can't get off that contract, and you might as well keep him around as the guy here. If you need to win 20 games, you're going to have to keep LaVine. No one's going to trade for that contract. LaVine will stay. Jake LaRavia is young. You got to keep him. You got to keep Devin Carter as well, your first-round pick last season. Those are the 3 guys who will stay on this team. I can see Keegan Murray, but if the Kings want to go complete rebuild, then you trade Keeg as well. We'll see. Maybe Murray stays as well. But Keon Ellis, Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, and Domantas Sabonis, and Valanciunas for that matter as well, and Trey Lyles, I guess, they're all gone. As soon as the season ends for Sacramento, barring, an all-time run here in the playoffs for the Kings, this is getting torn down. I mean, hell, there's already rumblings about how Sabonis and DeRozan are looking elsewhere. They're meeting with each other to really just think about and talk about the future of this basketball team. Well, yeah, they're a dysfunctional bunch. The season was over when they fired Mike Brown. Just be honest, it was. Now for the Mavericks. I'm not going to try to tell you the Mavericks have had a good season. I feel like the Mavericks kind of care more about this game than Sacramento does. I just think so. And I know Sacramento was in this exact spot last year. They were the 9 seed. They hosted the Warriors in the 9-10 game, and they actually beat the Golden State Warriors. And sure, they went on to New Orleans, Louisiana, and lost to the Pelicans right after. But this was a Kings team who 2 seasons ago was in the playoffs and was 1 game away from beating the Warriors in the first round and going on to take on the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round, right? They were on top of the world 2 years ago. Light the beam. Hell, trust me, I went to games in Sacramento that year. I've gone to Kings games in the past. That year, yeah, it was different. The first time in my life I went to multiple Sacramento Kings games in 1 year because it was different the Light the Beam year. It's not the same anymore. Well, De'Aaron's gone, and they just don't win as much now. DeRozan, and I hate to pin it on DeMar DeRozan, but it is on DeMar DeRozan as well, okay? DeMar DeRozan he's never fit this Sacramento scheme, and he still doesn't. DeMar DeRozan by himself is a great basketball player, but with the Sacramento Kings and how they run, he doesn't fit them at all. He doesn't shoot threes, at least not that effectively. He's a mid-range guy who, yes, playing his own game is very effective, but it takes time for DeRozan to get into his game. It's not what Sacramento did when they made their run in 23, and I just don't think it's really what they were trying to do this year, but they kind of got stuck in now running through DeRozan, and that's how they're going to play tonight. Now, DeMar DeRozan is the ultimate NBA play-in champion. I mean, he's here every single year. Zach LaVine is as well. They were both in Chicago last year, which is great. But I think the Mavericks get them. I think Anthony Davis, and I think the size that the Mavericks have actually is going to really affect Sacramento. I think it's going to. Because it's not like the Kings are going to take advantage of that size. They're not. I mean, they will have games where they run through Sabonis, but I mean, okay, well, Keegan Murray's in the court. Let's just be honest, guys. Keegan Murray does not scare me he doesn't scare me besides a three-point shot. And even that, he hasn't been what he was in the 23 playoff run. So you have 2 bigs in the court at all times for Dallas. They're going to grab every rebound with AD and Lively in the court at all times, or at least 2 bigs in the court if Gadford comes in. Okay? Now, Dinwiddie and Klay Thompson at the guards, I think Dinwiddie's horrible. I'm just going to be honest. I'd argue maybe Dante Exum should be getting more minutes than Dinwiddie and should be starting over Dinwiddie, or even a Jaden Hardy. But they're going to start Dinwiddie. I urge Dinwiddie to take the least amount of possible shots given to you. Just don't shoot the ball. We need Klay to have a good night, right? This was Klay's House of Horrors last year in the play-in round. His final game as a Warrior. Yeah, pal, we need you to step it up this year. All right, we need Klay to hit his shots and look like Klay Thompson, which he hasn't always done this season. You know, Klay went 0 for 6 last year in Sacramento with 0 points in the play-in round, 0 for 10 from the field. Yeah, buddy, we're gonna need you to boss up and hit some shots. That's all I'm gonna say. Because honestly, that was the game that started it all for this Klay Thompson downfall in the career. Just did, guys. To end the regular season last year with the Warriors, he put up 25 points in his last regular season game with them against the Jazz in 20 minutes. I remember the night they beat the Lakers to end the season, 2 games before the end of the season, he scored 27 points on 5 of 10 from beyond the arc. I mean, this is the game that started it. And has Klay been bad this year? I don't want to say bad, but he hasn't been good. So that's the game that started it all against Sacramento. I completely understand that. We need him to step up tonight. But I do think the size of Dallas is actually going to make a difference. I think it's going to. And I can't trust the Kings to win a basketball game, man. I've watched them so many times this season. I can't trust them. They have beat the Mavericks 3 times this year. But when you really look at the 3 times they beat Dallas this year, we'll go over them one by one. The last time they played Dallas, it was in Dallas. Kyrie was playing. It's the game he got hurt in. He plays 9 minutes in that game. That game goes south immediately. Anthony Davis wasn't playing that game. The Mavericks were starting Kessler, Edwards, and Dwight Powell. That was at the prime of their injuries. That was at the peak of the Dallas Mavericks injury problems. That's when there was discussion about, is this team going to have to forfeit games because they have so many injuries? Okay, so you can disregard that game. You really can. I'm just going to be honest. Okay, that's the last time they played. The Kings won 122-98. Okay, the other time they played, we'll go to the second time they played this year. An overtime game in Dallas. The the Kings win it by 1 point. No Anthony Davis, obviously. This is right after the Luka trade. Kyrie's doing everything. But Levine and DeRozan and Sabonis are all playing for the Kings versus just Kyrie. And a bunch of injuries on this team as well. Lively's still out. And the Mavs still almost beat him. Yeah. First time this year, I believe the game was in Sacramento. Yes, it was a 110-100 victory for the Kings over the Mavericks. What happened that night? Kyrie nor Luka played. It's right after the Luka injury on Christmas. Kyrie was out. Spencer Dinwiddie led the Mavericks in scoring that night. So when you really dive deep into this, none of the Kings' victories over the Mavericks are impressive this season. They have not beaten Anthony Davis this year. In Dallas, at least. Well, no, Sacramento didn't beat the Lakers this year either, though. With AD, if I'm not mistaken. I think. Yeah, they went 0-2. So, yeah, I remember the second game of the year where the Lakers had a dominant second half against the Kings. Yeah, guys, the Kings are 0-3 against Anthony Davis this season. And sure, was Anthony Davis the sole reason the Lakers won those games against the Kings in, 2024, in December and in October as well? No. LeBron had big games in all of those. Austin Reeves was really good as well. But at the same time, Sabonis hasn't had a great night against AD, other than I think the first time they played this season, Sabonis had 29 points. But in the other 2 matchups, AD was much better. Actually, no. Davis had 31 points against Sabonis at the same time that game. Yeah, I think a healthy AD, which is what we have right now, is going to dominate Sabonis. And I think, again, Sacramento's 0-3 against AD this season. Sure, they're 3-0 against the Mavs, but really look at those games like we just went over. Ultimately, I think the Kings are ready for the season to end. Sure, the season's been disastrous for Dallas as well, but this was a team that has, been through a lot, and the guys on this team want to win. They didn't decide to trade Luka Doncic. The Kings have kind of had this same core the entire year. I get it. They swapped Levine and De'Aaron Fox, obviously. But DeMar's been here the entire year. Sabonis has been here. Keon Ellis. No Malik Monk tonight, but Keegan's been here. Lyles has been here. It's been the same core, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. You put the Mavs in the spot, backs against the wall on the road. I'm taking Dallas to outright win the game in Sacramento, and we're going to let the Kings just be done this year. And they don't even own their pick. It goes to the Hawks. Yikes. I don't know what the future holds for the Sacramento Kings. I think they have their pick next year. I recommend you completely tank away next season and just readjust from there. AJ Dubinstana, I always butcher his name, from BYU is coming in the very near future. Tank for AJ. That's all I'm going to say. Folks, that does it for NBA predictions and best bets here for April 16th. For the play-in round, obviously, with the Miami Heat and the Chicago Bulls and the Dallas Mavericks and the Sacramento Kings. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back for more MLB Best Bets daily, obviously. Tomorrow will be the only betting video here on the channel, but Friday we will be back, and we'll see the winners of these two games take on both the Memphis Grizzlies and the Atlanta Hawks. So we'll see you guys tomorrow on Friday for that, and the NBA playoffs start on Saturday. My goodness, the series we have on Saturday. Bucks, Pacers, Clippers, Nuggets, Pistons and Knicks, and Timberwolves and Lakers. So folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Folks, thank y'all for watching. And Mamba forever.